Choosing a good magazine for your 1911 is paramount for reliability in the platform. In this video, I'll be going over my favorite 1911 magazines for the 45 ACP 1911. Starting off, we have some magazines here in front of me that are ones that I would say are not very good. The old school GI style ones, whether they're a repro or in modern style, or the old school like Milsurp ones, these are not super reliable. You can get some like these metal form mags that are fairly good, but my biggest gripe is that they're hard to work on, and without having the extended floor plate, I find that these tend to wear out pretty quickly. So we'll toss those away here. And then I have a couple of old Mec-Gar ones. I say old, but these shipped with the stakeout that I have here. This generation of Mec-Gar magazine, I've seen a lot of issues with. They can work, but truth be told, I've seen more problems with them than not. I wouldn't use these if like going out and buying them. That being said, you will see Mec-Gar in the good list later on, but this old school style with these thinner base plates, I wouldn't recommend them. Starting off with my favorite magazines, the ones I actually use, I'm going to begin with lower capacity. By that, I mean I'm going to start with my 7-round magazines. In my T-Sauce stakeout here, I have one of these mags, but I'll show you two more. These are the Wilson Combat 47s. These were designed by Bill Wilson and Bill Rogers back in the 80s, and these were kind of the first of the new generation of 45 mags. They use a slightly longer than necessary tube for 7 rounds. They use a fairly simple base pad to hold the guts of the magazine together, and then the followers have like a bump on them. Instead of it being like a sweep curve concave, these are convex, they come up. These are 7-round magazines. I found them to be extremely reliable. They're kind of getting harder to find now. I think that Wilson Combat's starting to discontinue the 7-round version. They're always on sale. I bought mine, and I have, I think, half a dozen of these at this point. These were like 20 bucks per from Wilson Combat's website recently. And I found them to be super reliable, and I really do dig the look. I will say that these tend to make fairly good range mags, and that's because the mag tubes being longer than necessary, I find that they don't wear out as quickly as some of the 8-round magazines do that try to cram more rounds into a smaller tube. Whether you get the stainless, or as they call this, the fluoropolymer, basically like a black painted finish, I think these are really cool. I found them to be very reliable, and I like them as range mags. I don't find myself choosing these for practical stuff like carrying. Not that I carry a 45 very often, but when I do, I do want to have one extra round in there. With these, having those longer tubes and the followers the way that they are, these are kind of hard to kill. You might have to replace the mag springs over time, but you know, they're going to last a long time. And again, I put my money where my mouth is. I have 5 here, and number 6 is actually sitting in one of my guns in the safe. So the 47, good magazine. If we want to go in the evolution of Wilson Combat for their good magazines, we have the 47D. This is nearly the exact same magazine, but they have changed the follower design, and then they have changed the base pad a little bit. This holds 8 rounds, so you can tell that because it has a witness hole for 8. These are good magazines, but I think that the newer generation of Wilson Combat 8-rounders are better. And I say that because these magazine tubes, with having the witness cut in the middle of the tube, that tends to make these mags a little bit less strong over time. Wilson Combat has since changed where the witness holes go in these magazines. And these are kind of just a holdover from the 80s and 90s. I think, again, they look really cool. They are very reliable, but you will wear out components faster in one of these 47Ds than you will in the original 47 or the next Wilson mag I'm about to show. So 47D is very cool, but again, unless you just want one for the cool factor, I would say skip this and get the next Wilson mag I'm about to show here. For the next Wilson mag that I've got, well, it's the one that I own the most number of. This is kind of goofy here, but I really like this one. And these aren't even all the ones I have. This is the Wilson Combat 500. And what this magazine is, I think they have different versions, but there's the 500, the 500D. These are the newer generation of 8-round mags. And the big difference you can see here is where the witness holes are cut in the magazines themselves, and then the base plates. With these 500Ds, I believe that the mag tube, you can even see here too, the mag tube's a little bit longer too, just a hair longer. These are magazines that tend to last a lot longer than the 47Ds. With the extended mag tube length, with the floor pad on there, these will last a good long time. They're super reliable. If I'm carrying a 45, these are the magazines I'm using. And again, money where the mouth is. I've got quite a few of these, and these aren't even all the ones I have, because I've got more out and about on my other 45s. One thing that you'll see with the Wilson mags, and again, this is pretty standard, with the 1911, we have the over insertion stop so we don't damage the ejector on the front of the floor plate here. It's very easy to see it, but it could be a tight fit. So all these magazines, I mean, there's always possibility of fitment issues in certain guns, but they have that over insertion stop, so you shouldn't damage your ejector with any of these mags. So the 500Ds or 500s are my favorite 45 mags, but there is a contender for one that I like more as a range mag. Now, the big thing, and I haven't really talked about this too much, the Wilson magazines are very good, but they're expensive. These 500s run about 33 to 36 bucks per mag when they're not on sale. The 47Ds are about the same price. These are like always on clearance, so they're like 20 bucks, but normally they're like 32, 33. I like these, but it gets expensive buying these single stack 45 mags. I was really excited to see these back at SHOT Show, and these are the new generation of Mec-Gar 8-round magazines. They are a bit odd looking. Rather than the kind of crusty blued finish of the old ones, we have a nice matte black finish. The followers are the same as the old ones, which were not the issue in the old magazines, but the mag tubes are a little bit better made. And then the big thing is the floor plate. The floor plate looks very odd on these. Well, let's throw it in the gun here for the, to see how it looks. The reason why the floor plate is designed the way it is that it comes off the back of the magazine opposed to coming off the front of the magazine. And the rationale for that is that Mec-Gar was looking at competition shooting, because 1911s are still super popular for a lot of competition. When you ditch the magazine out of the gun and it wants to fall, it wants to land on the back part of the magazine. And as such, they found that magazines that had the floor plate that came off the front, it was a higher chance for inertia to bump it and then it flies off. With these, they come off the back, so they tend to hold up pretty good. We also have a little bit more spring length in here. These are still 8-round magazines, but since they're kind of like an 8.5-round magazine, they tend to not wear out as quickly. And they've just been fairly reliable in my guns. Whether it's the Stakeout here, my Bullseye gun, my Swenson gun, my TRP, these have been reliable magazines. And one of the big points here, these are like half the price of the Wilson Combat mags. Maybe not quite half the price, but they're pretty close to half. If I were to compare these, I can get about, for 2 Wilson Combat mags, I can get 3 Mec-Gars, we'll put it that way. These tend to run about 20 to 21 bucks a mag. So I like these a lot. I do think that they're a little bulky for carry, at least for me. And I prefer the 500s for carry. But for range mags, I really like using these Mec-Gars, and I bought 3 just to test the water, and I'm planning on buying more. Now, full disclosure, I haven't purchased or tried the Trip research magazines. I hear a lot of positive things about those, but I don't have any experience with them myself. And talking about 10-round magazines, I generally see a lot of reliability issues with them, so I don't tend to use them myself. If you do want to get 10-round magazines, the ones to go for are the Chip McCormick Power Mags that are the railed Power Mags, 10-round mags. One of the, I won't say issues, but one of the intricacies with guns and 1911s and whatnot, Chip McCormick magazines, that company is owned by Wilson Combat now, so they kind of have some sharing of designs, but also some designs are just not in constant production, so just a thing to keep in mind there. But overall, I really like the 7 and 8 round magazines from Wilson Combat, and then the new generation Chip McCormick, or Mec-Gar magazines. Too many names of just people, right? Chip McCormick, Mec-Gar, Wilson Combat, it's all kind of samey right now. But yeah, these are my favorite 45 mags.